Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dearman. I'm here with my friend and trusted producer, Max Kerman, as well as our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. Guys, we got a good episode today. Huge guest. Been trying to get him for a while, since last summer.
Can I guess?
you can guess.
Bill Hader.
You nailed it. Oh, my God. Today on the show, we have the star of Barry on Crave, both seasons, Bill Hader. This is
okay. Not to spoil anything, but did you ask him about our encounter in the elevator in your building?
I didn't ask him about your specific encounter, but I did bring up that him and I were in the same building last summer.
Oh, really? Did he have nice things to say about your building?
Yeah, he said that that after shooting, they'd always bring them to A&W at 4 a.m.
Really?
On the way home, and I said, I've spent a lot of time in that A&W.
My brother.
Did we get this because of all of our talking about him and putting up the posters and stuff like that?
I'm going to guess that we got it because of Sarah McLaren working hard to get it. Yeah.
But maybe she heard us on the pod talking about it, and she
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'm actually going to try to make this happen.
Well, Max was on her a lot, to try and get him once we found out.
Yeah, the email just sort of showed up. You're like, hey, you're talking to Bill Hader. I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, I think she's been working on it a lot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
That's
and
a
of
big
course,
one.
Barry is a show that's on Crave now, so that's obviously which also hosts Mike on Much in conversation with. So.
Yeah, people got to watch that.
Yeah, keep watching it, everybody. Yeah, on that note, also, hit a subscribe if you don't subscribe to this podcast, and leave a comment on YouTube, and follow us on social media. If you have any questions, we're pretty good at getting back to people, I like to think. So, pod fans, if there's any lingering thoughts, ideas, concerns on your mind, send them over to us.
Yeah, speaking of pod fans and getting back to them, listener, Nick.
Not Nick from Markel's.
Not Nick from Markel's, not the bass player from Markel's, but on Instagram and Short. He'd written a nice note about how much he liked listening to us talk about the Raptors and my fandom for the Raptors because he is a huge fan of the St. Louis Blues and how much he was really sort of rooting for them in the Stanley Cup final. I said, hey, man, I can totally relate. I'll be rooting for the Blues and for you. And last night I went to bed early, as I do now with a child, and I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning because Winnie was stirring, and I saw that the St. Louis Blues had won the Stanley Cup Finals. And so I reached out to Nick just saying congrats. So I wanted to say that on the podcast because he'd sent some nice messages back and forth.
And congrats to Arkel's buddy, Ryan O'Reilly, who won the MVP of the Conn Smythe Trophy for the final. He had an incredible postseason run. You know that the Blues had one of the worst records in the league in December. They snuck into the playoffs, and now they're Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, man.
So and Ryan O'Reilly, he comes to see us. We met in Buffalo when he played there, and he's come up to see us in Kitabala, and he's come to Bud Stage show. Oh, we'll probably see him this summer, but shouts to Ryan O'Reilly.
You're pals with the Stanley Cup MVP.
Yeah, we've duetted together. If you saw on Arkel's socials,
Wow.
He plays a little guitar. Actually, you know what? He's actually become a very beloved dude during this run. He loves music. He really does. He's a big fan of a lot of bands I love, like My Morning Jacket and Dawes. And he goes to a lot of shows when he can. And he was at a guitar shop in Boston like 2 days ago, just playing guitar, like when he had a little downtime because they were playing the Bruins, so that's why he was in Boston. And he just bought some kid a guitar, a Bruins fan. A Bruins fan recognized him, and they were jamming out together. And he said, pick a guitar, I'll buy one for you. And the guy tweeted, and he didn't tweet, the kid tweeted and said, holy shit, Ryan O'Reilly just bought me a guitar.
I love stories like that.
I love that.
You know, I like to think if I ever won the lottery or became a super wealthy person, if I ever had money at that level, I would do stuff like that all the time.
Oh, it'd be such a fun thing to do.
But do you think he did it knowing that in this day and age everyone has social media?
No, of course that's where your mind goes, Shane.
You're such a cynic.
Yeah.
Hey kid,
I mean,
how many followers you got?
What's your social media handle? What? So, but here's the thing. It's doing things like that really is its own. Because when I think about when I was a kid, I used to hang out in guitar shops, and if somebody just was like, "Hey, grab that guitar," what is it, $700? $700 doesn't mean anything to someone like
Ryan O'Reilly.
Then it's that is kind of it feels good. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think that would.
I mean, that's the easy take in this day and age to say about anything because. Of course, somebody could tweet something out. And I think, knowing Ryan, I really doubt that he was looking for... I don't think he even has social media. That's the thing. It's he's not a guy...
But maybe so his legend kind of... it's like Bill Murray showing up at someone's party and DJing it randomly and just leaving. You're doing it because, one, it's fun. Two, it makes everyone feel good. And three, your legend kind of
Sure.
permeates.
I mean, maybe there's a small part of him that was thinking, oh, this will help my legacy in some way. But knowing him, he's actually a pretty shy, soft-spoken guy.
And I don't think everybody is thinking with that, playing 4D chess and thinking with a calculated brain.
No, I don't think you do anything really thinking about it. But if on a subconscious level, I believe that's why you're doing it.
But to Mike's point, there is something very satisfying about doing something like a random act of charity
Of course, I'm not
doesn't-
saying there isn't.
No, that doesn't get any attention. And
Yeah.
there's been a few things that I've done, not to pat myself, or this is kind of proving Shane's point, that would never have any social media
Doesn't
attention,
pop up
just
anywhere.
given the context. And I feel so good about it.
But because you always think one day it may be unearthed on some
No,
podcast down the line.
I don't think people do things
No,
like that.
okay. I'm only bringing this up because this was like 5 years ago, so this is not like something I did yesterday.
Right.
We were in L.A. recording. The studio was kind of like in a sort of more lower middle class area of town. There was a girl behind me, like who was there with her mom. She was like 5. She really wanted a toy. Her mom, I could tell, probably couldn't afford the toy. I was like, hey, I got this. I bought the toy. There's no way this mother knew who the fuck I was and was going to post it on social media. I mean, now it is making my legend grow. As I tell the story.
I'll take the bait. Oh, Max, you're so nice.
No, but the point is, I think about that. I'm like, I felt really good just to be able to do that little thing. It cost me $10. Who cares?
Yeah.
But it made a difference in that kid, and the mom was probably like, oh, this is nice that I don't have to buy my kid that gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree, Shane, that there are instances where celebrities do things going, I know this might be a pretty fucking good look.
And I think it can be both. I think you can be doing it because 90% of the
Yeah.
reason is
Also,
you feel really good about it.
I didn't see the tweet, but based on Max's story, I don't think he went into the store trying to buy a kid a guitar. The kid and him jammed, apparently. So it's
Yeah,
like,
right.
oh, this kid's got skills. You know what? Let me buy you a guitar. Like, I appreciate what you do and keep learning, and maybe this encourages you.
Yeah, the moment has to be right. Or
Yeah.
else then it seems really weird.
He's just in there. He was in there for 3 hours waiting for a kid to walk in and he could buy a guitar.
Let me pull up an article. John Corrado tweeted Tuesday evening that Ryan O'Reilly bought me a guitar while seshing at a Guitar Center in Boston. He included a picture. He included the receipt. Does not say how much money. O'Reilly played guitar since he was a teenager and still uses it as a way to unwind and get his mind off hockey. And okay, that's the end of the article. But he did.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought there'd be more to it. It was a weird website. You know when you search something and you're like, and you just hope it's a reputable website the first
Then
time.
you scroll and it's this huge ass ad and it's like it's over already. And it's
Yeah,
like,
the website is RussianMachineNeverBreaks.com.
Oh, my goodness.
But this is a real. It was also on Sportsnet and NHL.com. For some reason, RussianMachineNeverBreaks.com is the first one. That's weird. Google, you got to fix that shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, that's good stuff. Congrats to him for winning the MVP of the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah.
What's it called? Conn Smythe?
The Conn Smythe. Yeah.
Conn Smythe.
There's some fun, goofy names in hockey.
yeah.
Well, they name them after people, I suppose, but
Yeah.
it's hard to remember.
And yeah, congratulations to St. Louis Blues and listener Nick, because all your dreams are coming true. And hopefully tonight, in Game 6 of the NBA Finals in Oakland at Oracle Arena, Raptors versus Warriors, we get our dreams to come true tonight as
Shane, did you hear the Nut is going to Oracle to watch the game tonight?
Greg told me.
Yeah.
So
So
why do you think they need him down there? You think someone could just send him footage for him to post on his Instagram and he could just pretend he was there?
well, part of his job is schmoozing the big
Entertaining
corporate,
clients.
Yeah, corporate clients. So that's why he's got to go. He's good at his job. He's very good at his job.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
And as much as we make fun of Nut, I do think he serves a purpose.
Actually,
That's all anybody wants.
actually, speaking of Nut, I had a fun little afternoon.
We all want to
with him.
serve a purpose in life, right? Seriously. It feels good to be wanted
Yeah.
and needed. But that's amazing that he gets to fly down there and do it.
Oh, yeah.
I will say, though, we were texting, and he was saying he was a little bummed that he's not going to get to experience it with us if it happens tonight.
Yeah.
Did he message you like, can't make it, boys, I'm going to be in Oracle?
Yeah, well, he started trying to set up how we were going to watch tonight, and he was really excited. And then there was a couple options, and then he locked one in, and he's like,
Shane is seething right now
Well, do you
because
think
he wasn't included in
No,
the group
no,
message.
I'm not seeing them because of that. I'm thinking, is this a hockey player situation where he saw the long play? Like, I'm going to set up a booth. I'm going to be there. Oh, got
I don't think he would. I think if he knew he was going to Oracle, he wouldn't have set us up. I think
Yeah.
he genuinely wanted to stay watch with us.
Yeah, in
Maybe
this case-
90% was wanting to watch with you, but there was that 10%. He's like, I might go to Oracle and seem like a cool guy.
I wonder if he's flying private.
Probably.
Do you think they're sending a jet?
Yeah, last time he flew private.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
We
Ooh.
got to have him on just to tell us his story.
Yeah, he said,
Just for him?
well, not just for him. It was
Oh.
with him and all the other
He really is important. He's got a beard trimmer on the plane and a barber.
Hey, this speaking of that, this funny thing happened yesterday. So there was this panel for it was a conference for music industry event promoters, basically. So basically, event centers like stadiums and clubs from all across North America have some convention in Toronto, and there's a panel that they asked the Nut to moderate, and it was our booking agent Jack Ross, Eric Hoffman, who runs Live Nation here in Toronto, Manager and myself. They want to do like a case study on our Kells and how you help build a band. So I was like, okay. So we went over to the Hilton, and it was like an hour-long thing. And one of the questions they asked me, I think Birchall asked me, like, how did the band get going? And I was like, I've always been kind of like a keen guy, and I think that's been part of our success is because I'm really up for stuff. And I used to feel a little embarrassed about being so keen, but then I realized, when we tour with Frank Turner, that guy's the keenest dude out there. And then, you look at someone like Mick Jagger and you look into it, you're like, no, that dude's really keen. And, I was hanging out with Dave Grohl the other day. I was like, no, that guy is the keenest guy ever. And as soon as I said I was hanging out with Dave Grohl, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, that's not exactly what I meant. And I wish I could take it back. I wish I could present it. Because it wasn't, I presented it.
It's not 100% accurate.
No, it's not 100% accurate, but I've observed Dave Grohl in over the years through his documentaries. We played with him before, like 8 years ago.
And you did share a 5-minute conversation.
And we did share.
So that's a hang. That's a hang.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. And I even kind of made a joke more in reference for the people on stage that know me, where I go, that's a pretty good name drop, huh, guys?
You're right.
But for everybody else in the room, it might have come off like me and Dave Grohl hang out all the time.
Well, see, this is that Natalie Portman Moby situation, because
This is it.
someone one day is going to be like, "Hey, I heard you hung out with Max Kerman from the Arkells," and
Dave
Dave Grohl's
Grohl?
going to be like, "Not only did I not hang out with Max, I do not know who Max is," and then it's going to be like, "Max is a liar."
Well, I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
So then anyways, but I do remember it in the moment. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, that's not exactly what I meant. Anyway, panel ends. This elderly lady named Edie from Baltimore walks up. She's like, "Oh my God, Dave? I'm great friends with Dave and his mother. I went to the wedding. I know his wife. Let me take a picture. I'm gonna send it to Dave right now." So I'm just like, oh fuck. So we take this goddamn selfie.
What? You just commit? You don't come clean?
Well, no. What am I gonna do?
Just say, "Listen, lady, I'm a terrible liar. That was hyperbole for the crowd."
No, basically, I just had to be like, I had to grin and go with it. Like,
Wow.
no.
That's the craziest part of the story,
No,
man.
are you fucking
It's
kidding me?
not. They always say it's not the crime, it's the cover-up, baby.
No, think about this. We just got off stage for an hour just talking about what a big deal I am. And then she goes, "We got to do it." What am I supposed to say? No, actually, I don't know him that well. Do you think I come clean in that moment?
Some little old lady can know you're not that big of a deal.
No, this is how you do it.
What would you do?
So-
I mean, I was just going to take the picture. This, by the way, thinking this happens to Dave Grohl all the time, and he's not going to give one.
He'll just brush it off.
He'll be like,
But the
I don't
truth
know."
is going to come out. He's going to say, "Oh, cool. Who is this?"
No, but Dave Grohl deals with this situation. Some liar like me.
What's going to
all the
happen?
time.
The photo will go to the mom who she's friends with, and the mom won't flip the photo to Dave. That's probably how the sequence of
That's
events
exactly
goes.
how it happened.
But what I would have done in that situation, and by the way, do you? It's fine. I would have been like, when she's like, "Oh, Dave," and I'm like, "Well, actually, we actually just got to have a nice conversation. I was at the thing."
No, I gave context. I said, actually, we hung with Dave and his mother. I do a podcast. We interviewed his mom.
Right.
She's such a lovely lady. She's like, "Oh, Virginia, what a nice lady." Blah blah blah.
Cool.
So I totally said that.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
You
I thought you were
yeah.
just like, "Yep, best friends, take the photo."
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No. I didn't do that. No.
You're more normal now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just like, what are the chances that
I know.
someone who has Dave Grohl's phone number in their phone was in that fucking room?
Yeah, bad luck. Otherwise, the panel go off well.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
Really
it's
good,
good.
Yeah.
Who moderated it? Was it Birchall?
Yeah, the nut.
How's the nut as a moderator?
He's really good, actually. He's actually stealing my bit as the young cool guy who swears, like in formal settings.
Oh.
Because the few times I've done this kind of thing, I'm like the cool guy who's laid back and says fucking whatever. And then he came out doing that. I was like, oh, there can only be room for one of those. One of
Yeah.
those people on the
Like,
podcast.
how does he do it?
Well, he's like, all right, we're all we're having a good time. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna get fucking wasted after the open bar, right? Like that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
Dang, dude.
Speaking of people stealing bits,
Whoa, good segue.
Good segue.
Man, I should have had that.
we have a situation on our hands, boys. I'm not sure if people have checked out our social media, but I will play this. And people at home can tell me if this sounds familiar at all.
Warriors, eh? More like Golden State Warriors. Yeah, and I'd be worried too if I was playing a team like the Raptors, eh? Hope that wasn't too harsh. See you around.
Okay, so that was a bit from Conan O'Brien's show with a Toronto comedian named Levi McDougall.
Ooh.
I see this guy around a lot walking the streets. He may have moved to L.A. because I haven't seen him in a little bit, but I used to see him all the time. And he kind of rose to fame for doing the Rogers commercials, where he was the guy with getting the bad reception, and then there was always this good-looking guy getting the better reception. They would play the 2001 Space Odyssey song.
Oh, I remember that campaign, yeah.
Yeah, so he was always like the loser of the group. Since works for Conan, I'm thinking he must have gone to a Raptors game, possibly, and then saw you doing your hype man routine.
He was interested.
And he's like, okay, this didn't go over too well. It's not being filmed. It's like people aren't going to be talking about this joke. I'm sure I can add a little twist to on how bad this joke is, because your joke bombed, right? So in the Conan bit, the whole joke is how bad Canadians are at roasting.
Yeah.
So it's a guy walking up to Golden State Warrior fans doing bad roasts. So I'm like, oh, Max did this joke poorly. He saw it, thought I'm going to lift it, and no one will be the wiser.
You actually think that?
Max is mad that you said he did it poorly.
What? No, I'm kidding. No, but you think I'm crazy? And by the way, this isn't the first time Conan's ripped off a bit from me.
So to be clear,
it's not.
To be clear, Shane, you are insinuating or outright accusing them
I know.
of lifting your bit.
I'm saying this is the first time it's a coincidence. Second time.
Well, okay, what's the first
There's
time?
a pattern.
What happened the
Okay,
first time?
so the year was I'm serious, 2003. Okay, and Mike knows this. I hosted a show
The
called
long con. This is how Conan has developed all his material. He steals jokes from every single comedian, but spaces them out.
Well, no, here's the sad part. Conan might not even know. It's
Okay.
probably his just underling.
Yeah.
So 2003, I'm on a show called Takeover.
Yeah, much music.
In that show, you get to be a Much Music VJ for 2 hours. You get to take over the entire programming. And the people at Much said, Shane, we don't want to lift a finger. We trust you to do everything, write bits, show us everything you got, throw to any video clips you have. So I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And this was back in the day when TV was actually very important.
Yeah.
So I wrote this bit called VJ 101. And I walk in and I talk to Rick Campanelli. My hair's a mess. I'm wearing horrible fashion. I have like horrible fashion sense. And Rick is on the phone and he's booking a hair appointment for himself. And then he sees me. He's like, actually, Francesca, cancel my 1 o'clock and my 2 o'clock and my 3 o'clock. I've got some work to do. And then he gives me a makeover, thus making me prepared to become a VJ. Mm-hmm. Bit goes over great. Everyone's like, oh, Shane, like you were shit on the live parts, but every video piece you threw to, you were great. I'm like, yeah, I know I was very shit during the live parts, but my video parts were amazing. Mm-hmm. Anyway, cut to next week. Conan happens to be in town for he was doing a thing where he goes to Canada and does a whole
He
week
did a week of shows.
I
Week of
remember that,
Toronto.
actually.
Jim Carrey was there. I actually got to go to the Jim Carrey show.
I actually, he came to Much to host MOD one day, and I actually got to do the artist throw. Like, hey, I'm Conan. You're watching Much Music. I directed that with him when I was just.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Yeah, I was like.
That was
20
a big deal when he came to Toronto.
It was huge, and
Yeah.
for me to get to go do that when I was like 20, and I was like obsessed with Conan, like that was it. That was awesome. But anyway, so he was here for the week.
Yeah, and maybe you know what happened here because then
I was an underling. I literally was just like a unit assistant. I worked 4 hours a day fetching coffee. So
that's exactly what a mole would say. But okay, so then
I actually don't know the bit that he stole. Did he do it on his show? Or?
so I'm watching because I'm obsessed with Conan, as I'm sure all of us are.
Yeah.
So I'm watching, and then Conan's like, "Well, I'm nervous about this whole like being on MOD thing. You guys got to show me the ropes." They cut to a VJ 101 bit. Instead of Rick Campanelli, it is Amanda Walsh showing him how to be a VJ. They play the same song. They go to the exact same script. So I'm like, what the hell? It's one of those situations you don't know whether to be flattered or insulted. So I'm like, geez, they didn't even ask me. I did leave the script on the table because I handed everyone a script. And then I just emailed them right away. I crafted this like 2-page email, sent it to them.
This
and
sounds like something you do, yeah?
And they were responding to every email, like they were very cool. Never got back to me. And I think that is the sign of a very guilty person.
Well, okay.
Who's responsible, though? It's not Conan.
No, it would have been someone on MOD.
Someone in-house.
Who knows? Maybe he was watching a week before and he was like, hey, or one of his underlings was like, hey, I like this kid's bit. Let's bite that.
I guarantee you that the Much people presented that bit to him.
Yeah.
Because they're in charge of MOD. Like, they run the show. He comes and hosts it. He might suggest things, but they're the ones that are like, hey, Conan, do you want to do this bit? And he'd probably be like,
Sure.
that would be my guess.
Okay, I believe that more so, but it was more of a good segue into getting into this story.
Well, hey.
So what do we do?
Well, I believe story number one is far more. I feel that this one, the Golden State Warriors, is probably coincidental. I think differing minds can come to the same conclusion. Or
Yeah,
joke.
that kind of wordplay is.
It wasn't as original as I thought.
I thought it was original, but I feel like this is something that comedians have to deal with all the time. Is that it's like something happens, like in the news or some current events thing happens, and people come to very similar.
And it's a mere
conclusions.
coincidence that this guy's from Toronto, and that there's a high likelihood he was at that game.
Yeah, you think there's a high likelihood he was at the game?
In Jurassic Park.
Yes. I do. But I think it's even weirder that Much would just bite my bit. I guess this was like before internet was so easy to call people out on.
Yeah, the much biting your bit is more problematic to me. But this was also like 20 years ago. Who cares?
Well, the answer to that question is Shane Cunningham.
That's who cares.
Yeah. Obviously, the only one.
Anyway,
who cares is the
I'm
person
into
who's
pursuing
been-
this though. Not the much music thing because it's kind of a cold case at this point.
To you, it is. Yeah.
You could probably go into the library in a basement and find your bit and the Conan bit.
I have my bit.
Yeah, but you could probably find the Conan bit too, and back to back them, A and B them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if you want that kind of attention though. We're company men.
It's true.
Yeah, for
I
your
just
own
want
sake.
them to know. I put it out in the ether and be like, I know. Like, I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Like you with your charity story.
Yeah. No, I think you should find the Conan thing and put them back to back and say justice will be served. That's the copy for the.
No, I can't get in trouble. I think just them knowing that I know is
Okay,
like-
well, maybe something more relevant and to break into the U.S. audience a little bit more is let's make a big public campaign to get a public apology from Conan.
That would be
for
good.
ripping our bit.
Oh yeah,
So-
that'll go over well.
Yeah.
Because comedians love being told that they rip people off, especially when you're Conan's level.
Yeah. So that's what we do.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, he'll despise us. Okay, next topic. Recently in the news, a couple days ago, we kind of missed this on the first pass, but we wanted to talk about it anyway, just because we did think it was pretty damn funny. Justin Bieber went on Twitter and he challenged Tom Cruise, weirdly, to a UFC-style fight. Justin Bieber's tweet was, "I want to challenge Tom Cruise to fight in the octagon. Tom, if you don't take this fight, you're scared and you will never live it down. Who is willing to put on the fight?" And then he @s Dana White, who's a UFC guy. And then I guess Conor McGregor waded in, goading Tom to take him up on his offer so that he could host the fight himself. I guess Conor McGregor has some sort of network or whatever. So, first of all, I guess...
So bizarre.
What do we think his mind state was when he was
He was definitely
tweeting
high
it?
or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like he did salvia or something.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
You don't know what salvia is?
I don't.
It makes you go nuts for a minute.
Really?
Yeah. So I hear.
So in this story that I'm reading right now on Lad Bible, whatever that is, was the first result that came up. Not quite as crazy as whatever Russian butt porn or whatever Max found was.
No, that's a popular website.
Is it? Okay. So I guess Bieber's backtracking here. The Beepster did a pure 100% backtrack going all coy and shy. That's when TMZ, as reported by TMZ, he was asked about the bizarre outburst when leaving wife Hillary Baldwin's fashion line office in LA. He said, "Man, I was just playing. It was just a random tweet. I'm pretty sure Tom would probably whoop my ass in a fight."
Which is true.
I'd have to get super in shape. I'm really skinny right now. I think he'd probably be out of my weight class. He's got that dad strength. Okay, so that's a good save. Either way, it's just very bizarre. Do you think Tom would win in the fight?
Of course.
Right now, yeah, I think Bieber hit the nail on the head that he's too skinny right now. He needs to bulk up like when he was doing that Calvin Klein.
Do you
ad.
think?
Tom's
Tom
also
Cruise,
very active.
And Tom was like not a pro wrestler, but he was into wrestling in high school.
I
And
feel like
think
that
he
guy
has
is in is in better shape than like 99% of the population.
Yep.
Yeah, and has been for so long, and has dad strength as well.
But he's got to be what, 55 now?
Dude does not. Yeah, he is.
Tom
But
Cruise,
doesn't
yeah,
look
he-
like he's older than 30 or something.
Do you think you could beat up your dad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
See, I'm not unsure if I could beat up my
You know,
dad.
see, I'm bigger than my dad. My dad's older too. My dad had me when he was 40, so my dad's an old guy, and and I'm like 6'1" almost, and my dad's like 5'8".
Where do you think you got your height?
My mom's side, my mom's brother's 6'4". So,
Right.
Yeah.
How tall is your mom?
5'7".
It's good height.
Yeah.
Tall for a lady.
Yeah.
Are you're 6'1"?
Just about, yeah.
What are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Right. So Max is taller than you.
Yep.
Yeah. There you have it.
Especially when he's lying, because I think you're 6 foot.
Are we doing back to back?
Let's do it.
Maybe that'll be the photo for today's episode.
That'd
Okay.
be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
One of my favorite bits, by the way, is Julian, our friends Julian and Sean, doing back-to-back, basically at every party for the last 10 years to see who's taller.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
it's Julian, right? Definitively.
I think Julian is, but for some reason, there's always like a bit of a debate, and also there's some excitement because everyone thinks Sean.
It's
is
all
taller.
about gangliness. That can
Yeah.
really throw people off. And arm length. If you have awkwardly long arms, like I definitely have longer arms than you, but you might maybe a little bit taller than me.
Yeah,
So that can throw off perception of height. And
So
Julian's like perfectly proportioned.
and Sean has longer arms.
Yeah, Sean is shaped differently.
Yeah, you think I have shorter arms than you?
You definitely do.
I mean, I think I do too, but how do you know that?
Because I measured my arms. Because people were.
and while you were sleeping, Max, he measured yours.
No, but you can look at you look like a T-Rex. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Dude,
You're
am I
like,
known
you're
as a
like
short
Trump
arm
with
guy?
the small hands.
I don't think you have small arms.
No, I think most people, their length of their arms is their exact height. So you probably have a 6-foot wingspan.
Uh-huh.
I have a 6'4" wingspan.
Oh, so you'd be good at basketball? I mean,
Theoretically.
at the draft combine. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd measure out all right.
Would you think you have long arms, Mike?
My arms, for my proportions, like I think I'm like just under 5'8" maybe, and my arms go down to like past my hips. Like I'm like between 5'7", 5'8". Like my arms, I think I'm proportionate for my body size.
Yeah, I bet you your arms are your exact height,
Yeah.
which most people's are. And it's like anytime someone has like kind of an awkward looking walk, it's usually they don't know what to do with their arms because mine hang very weird. So it's walking for me has always been like, oh, don't look at me. My
Do I have
arms.
an awkward walk?
No, you have a cool guy walk.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, we should do the arm test as the photo.
Cool. I'm into that.
This is
Okay.
going off the rails. One of the funny things that I like to.
Well, I thought the Cruz Bieber thing. I was like, what are we going to say about this? This is just ridiculous.
it's so
Well, we were
absurd.
supposed to talk about who'd we want to beat up.
Oh, yes, that's what. Okay, yeah. Let's get
who
into
we'd
that.
want to beat up.
Like if no one can
Yeah.
get hurt, all things are equal. And it's
Boxing
just,
gloves.
Just to know, like, who have you
Is it
always
boxing
wondered?
or like a wrestling match? kind
I
of
think UFC fighting. Like, let's keep all things equal. Like
Ooh,
Bieber's
that's dangerous.
thing? I wouldn't.
I know, but no one's actually getting hurt. It's just like if you could enter into a computer system algorithm
Yeah.
and it could just tell you who you could actually beat up.
Oh.
Who would you want to know?
Oh man.
Good question.
Like
Yeah.
you and Greg, or have you ever wondered could I beat up my brother?
No, because once he got really so when he was little, he's my little brother. He's 3 years younger than me. I could like obviously like push him around, and you know you do that thing when you're the older brother where you kind of antagonize him a bit. But like physically, he'd get mad and run at me, but you could just kind of like hold him off or throw him around. And then at one point when we were adults, like we were probably like in our early 20s, we were living together, and he got mad at me for something, and he like ran at me and kind of like picked me up and body slammed me.
Holy shit!
And I was shocked. I was like, "Shit, he got strong." I'm like, "I'm not going to
Not
go
doing
there
that
again."
again.
But ultimately, like, I don't think I've been in any sort of physical like confrontation since I was like 15. So I can't even imagine what I'd be like in a fight right now. So or anyone
Me
else.
either. That's what makes it so
Yeah.
interesting.
I think my brother might just because I think he's angrier. You know? Who's got the will to win? You know, I'm more chill.
Yeah, who would I want to? I never think about physical violence.
Like, okay,
anyway.
you and Vance Joy, who's winning?
There we go.
Okay. Oh, it's good. Okay, yeah. Put in the music world. That's a good one. I mean, I think Vance Joy would probably beat me up because he's
A little bigger.
he's bigger. Oh, what about this? Shawn Mendes.
Ooh,
Because Shawn Mendes,
very fit.
he's fit.
But you're more athletic. I would.
You know, no, actually, your brother and Dan and I are in a text group, and he was like, "Did you see Shawn Mendes' Instagram? Dude has hops." I was like, "Is he better at basketball than me too?"
just because you can jump doesn't mean
He
you're good at
dunked it though
basketball.
the other
What?
day. Yeah, yeah. It was just him like casually dunking.
Wow.
Like very.
Can he
casually.
dribble though?
Yeah, that's the thing. I might still be able to whoop his
You
ass
gotta
in
be.
one.
You'll see. He'll be in the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game next season.
I know.
And yeah.
I'll be denied yet again.
Because
Who would you
Bieber
take?
doesn't look so bad on the. I'd fight Bieber. There you go. I feel like I could win that one.
You think you could beat up Bieber?
I do, yeah.
Wow.
I probably got 20 pounds on him.
Yeah, but it's not really about weight because if you look at these UFC fighters,
Yeah.
they look ripped, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy must be 180 pounds of muscle. They're like 144 pounds.
My goal would be to just kick him in the gut and then choke him out and just
Right.
put my weight on top. I just try to lay on top of him and choke him until he's
But
submitted.
his gut is like abs.
Is it though?
I think so.
No, I think he's just skinny. I think he's just one of those guys that happens to look ripped, and if he like works out for like 30 minutes, like one time a week, and takes a picture right after the workout in the mirror, he's like, "Oh, dude looks ripped," but he's like just because he's skinny.
I have a friend like that. You guys know Mark Myers. He looks just like a Skeletor looking dude who's never worked out, but he always has a little bit of abs merely because he's skinny. but he's strong.
He
No,
plays
but-
sports all the time. too.
Yeah. Mark's very athletic, and Mark's got a big ass and big legs, right? Like
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's bottom heavy.
yeah, he is.
Like
But-
Bieber's just like rock skinny, you know? Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm pretty quick too. I feel
No,
like
I like
could-
the prediction. I'm
yeah.
not saying you couldn't. I'm just surprised that you think you can.
I'll throw him out there.
Okay.
And so Vance, you think he might?
I mean,
take him?
Vance would beat you up. Like he's called
But
Max
yeah.
2.0 for a reason.
Yeah, Advance is like my age. I feel like I might be able to take Mendez only.
I agree.
Only because he's a little softer.
Yep.
You know, not in his body, but just in his disposition.
Yeah.
Right. And you have man strength because you.
Yeah, and
have 50
I've
years on him.
compared to him, I have like dad strength.
Yeah, man.
I'm like his father.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I'd like to take you on. I think that'd be interesting. I'd like
That'd
to
be an
s-
interesting one.
Yeah, I'd like to see what would happen there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Sometimes I wonder. See, you get crazy competitive though. I think that's where you'd probably beat me because I just be like, okay, enough. You know what I mean?
Just give up because I'm angry.
Yeah, just because you're insane.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Just
Mike?
because we play basketball against each other, and I play better when I am in a good mood and I'm not rattled. I think you play better when you're a crazy person.
No, I just play better when I'm comfortable.
No,
Be-
you get like a heat-seeking thing where you're more effective.
But here's the thing: I'm way more comfortable if it's like a 3-on-3 game. Like I know I'm just good at 3-on-3. If it's a full court game and it's guys I don't know, I'm very uncomfortable. Like I'm scared to shoot. I'm too like kind. I almost can't even get that angry. And if I do, I'm very ineffective. Whereas I find you. It's almost like how you would give a speech. Like you would always give a pretty good speech on no time.
Sure.
For me, I would need to plan and be comfortable. And that's the way when I'm playing basketball, I feel very comfortable with guys I know.
Yeah.
So if it was a game where people were watching, you would kill me at basketball. And if it was just us, I feel like I'd have a better chance of beating you.
It's interesting. I was playing hoops the other day with John Populus.
Yeah, I heard.
And we played a 5-on-5 game. I hadn't played in a while. It was my first time back on the court, and I kind of played like shit for that same reason. I wasn't
Yeah.
as comfortable, but it's amazing how if you're comfortable, everything is different.
Confidence is the most important thing in life.
Yeah, because then we played 2-on-2, and it's just John and I on one team against these two other guys, and I was lighting them up because I was just like, oh, the only person I have to worry about is John. I'm not worried about some other guy being mad at me for missing a shot
or not passing the ball.
or not passing the ball, or, and I was way better.
Yeah. Like sometimes I'm like, I can't believe how good I am at basketball. I'm unbelievable.
And then sometimes you're like, I can't believe how shit I am
like,
at basketball.
I'm the worst. Like Mike was saying the other day, like we were playing with these guys who were actually good players. They like played overseas and stuff. And it was like I had never touched the ball. If I dribbled once, it would go off my foot and out of bounds. And then I would just sit on the bench with like a horrible feeling in my tummy,
Yeah.
like I'm a loser.
Yeah.
And Mike and I would just be like, let's get out of here. Like, let's never come back. That was humiliating.
Oh
right?
yeah, you got to know when the jig is up. Man.
Yeah. All right, we were really going
So Mike, you
Yeah.
settle this. Who would win in a fight?
Well, I think the only way to settle is at the next live show. Let's get out the octagon and you guys can do it.
Or we just do it right now and just film and put on an IG story in this room.
Smash this office up.
you kid, Max, but I'll actually do it. All right, what's next?
All right, so moving on, our next topic is actor and Canadian Kiefer Sutherland. Canadian actor Kiefer Sutherland, the grandson of renowned former Saskatchewan Premier Tommy Douglas, is asking Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Ottawa MPP Lisa MacLeod to stop using his grandfather's name for their own political ends. So if you've been listening here in Ontario, Doug Ford is a very polarizing politician due to his policies and leanings. And I guess he's been sort of, him and Lisa MacLeod have sort of been invoking the name of Kiefer Sutherland's grandfather to sort of help support his ideals. And so what happened was Kiefer Sutherland tweeted. He said, Mr. Ford, your tweet has recently come to my attention, and I can only tell you that you are correct. My grandfather, Tommy Douglas, was fiscally responsible. In addition to balancing the budget of Saskatchewan, he also provided the province with paved roads, health care, and electricity. He did it all within 4 years. Contrary to your argument, it was never at the expense of social and human services to those in need. I personally find your comparison of your policies to his offensive. So I can only ask, as the grandson of this man, for you to stop posting his picture and using his name as part of your political agenda. After all, I knew Tommy Douglas, and you, sir, are no Tommy Douglas. P.S. You're lucky my mom's not active on Twitter. Sincerely, Kiefer Sutherland.
So he kind of bit a bit there.
Well, yeah, that's the famous. I knew Jack Kennedy, and you, sir, know.
So I guess if the bit's famous enough, then it's not stealing because it's a known thing that's what I'm.
That's
doing.
a historical famous.
Well, I don't know that bit.
Yeah, that it was like a thing. It was like a Dan Quayle debate, and I guess the guy on the Democratic side, he knew, who was also running for vice president. He knew John F. Kennedy, so he was like, "Sir, you're no Jack Kennedy," and that's kind of where the quote comes from, and everybody knows it, which is what Kiefer was referring to.
Cool.
So what's the angle here? Is it that a celebrity got involved in politics?
Two angles. Number one, I'm happy that Kiefer said this because it obviously appeals to my political leanings, and I like when rich, famous people get on board with slightly bigger government. And this is, again, just my personal take. The fact that he is, and of course, he's more likely to because his grandfather is a famous socialist. He's not just a random celebrity. He happens to be related to a guy who really stood for a kind of bigger government being involved in helping making people's lives better. And so I'm in favor of that. But my question is that, so Lisa McLeod tweeted back after this happened. And she said, "I used to like this show," which is Designated Survivor.
Yeah.
And she posted a picture of, I'll read the tweet first. "I used to like this show, which overtook a very expensive bus shelter ad in the fall of 2017 outside of Queen's Park. Alas, it's more difficult to be a politician than pretend to be one on TV."
Right.
And she posted a photo of a Designated Survivor, like bus shelter that's all like decked out outside of Queen's Park. So
Why mention the bus shelter ad? That seems like an odd little digression within the tweet.
well, I think it's her just saying that
You're
like,
an actor. You
You're
play one on
actor.
TV.
Oh.
Yeah, real politics is actually hard, and fuck you, I'm not going to watch your show anymore.
Right.
So my question for you guys is like, this is the kind of thing that pisses me off about conservatives, where it's like, okay, this is your response. Instead of going, "Hey, sorry for invoking you're right," like that comparison wasn't totally appropriate, or making some kind of apology, she just doubles down and goes, "Well, I'm not going to watch your show anymore," without really addressing what Kiefer said, what his criticism
It's like when
was.
LeBron spoke out. It was like, just keep dribbling the ball and stick to that type
Yeah.
thing, right?
So my question though is, are like liberals or progressives just as guilty of doing this kind of like clapback in a way that doesn't actually acknowledge any of their own shortcomings? Or is it something that mostly conservatives do? Because I'm always interested in like, when do I have tunnel vision when it comes to like rooting for my own side? And when are there instances when actually my side is just as guilty as doing this kind of thing?
Well, let's say it was reversed, and Kiefer was on the opposite side, and he was like, "My grandpa would actually love you, Ford." Or would you-
sure, yeah.
Would
Like,
you be
just-
like, "Don't speak on behalf of your dead grandpa, Kiefer"? Like, would you? Be like
Oh
that?
yeah, that's a good way to put it. How would a progressive person act in that situation? And Mike, what do you think?
Well, I mean, this is kind of an issue, I think, overall with like public statements and the way that we're going as societies. There's no nuance in anything. So it's like, it's basically all kind of a PR game. So basically it's like they say something invoking the grandfather. Kiefer Sutherland jumps in and gets a little bit, stands for what, he writes. What he wrote felt very impassioned and like he truly believed it and he wanted to get political with it. Now,
And also factually true, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Like they're like
That's what I'm saying. But so then her response,
He's correcting
though,
a wrong.
She doesn't respond to any of the charges in the initial thing. So he's trying to make a point about policy or the way that his grandfather sort of operated, and then she brings up a TV show and shows a bus shelter. But the thing is, like, that's effective these days.
Yeah, but it's
Like, is anyone going to hold her to account or be like, "We'll talk about the issues"?
yeah, it was like that's kind of irrelevant to what Kiefer was saying. Whether or not he had a bus shelter outside of Queen's Park is
But
not
but
the
it,
point.
in a more macro sense, this is Trumpism. This is
Yeah.
the idea that, like, I'm going to ask you a specific question and I'm going to present a specific set of facts, and then you're just going to give an answer that has nothing to do with any of that without ever addressing the actual questions, and then we just kind of keep it moving. We don't go, "Wait a second, that's not what we're talking about."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this has been happening since he won
It's
the
like
fucking
if the
election.
burn is good enough, it's like good enough to distract from
Yeah,
everything.
and I agree with this. And this one, my point is that I think that happens a lot on the conservative side, but also, I'm just maybe we can get our listeners to chime in here. Are there instances when progressives or liberals are just as guilty of doing this kind of thing, where they don't acknowledge the full scope of reality or the situation and just want to do a clapback, and they're not being totally honest with themselves in the way that Lisa McLeod was not totally honest with whatever the situation was.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that I find so depressing is I don't think anybody's ever being totally honest anymore. It's all performative. Like,
Sure.
politics is it doesn't feel as much about policy, and it's more about winning PR games, and it's performative, and it's like pandering to a base. And maybe that's always been what politics is, but you would think in the age of like Twitter and sort of more voices and sort of like us being able to grab clips and compare clips. You know, you always see like This Now, and they'll show like the hypocrisy. I don't know if it's moving needles. I don't know if people are being like, yes, we do want truth. You know what I mean?
You know what?
They just want their views reinforced, so they don't care how they get there.
I've always thought about this. It's like, I know you have to, protect your own tribe and appeal to your base, but wouldn't it just be so refreshing, and wouldn't it create so much goodwill and actually more popularity if politicians said, "Hey, sorry about that." Like, it just apologize sometimes. Politicians have such a hard time apologizing for when they fuck up.
Yeah.
If she just said, "Hey, Kiefer, you know what? Fair enough. Sorry about that."
Well, when you make a concession, sometimes it really buys a lot of like, that's a respectable person. And
Yeah.
next time they do say that something's right, I'm going to believe them because they admit when something's wrong.
Yeah. I guess then the counter to that is then you get criticized for like, oh, here's the dude who's always apologizing for stuff. Because
No, but you got to pick your moments.
pick your moments. But I feel like
I don't know. There's like a moment where conceding or admitting you're wrong. Let's go back like to an entertainment story. Hugh Grant, this is a way back playback, gets busted with a prostitute and arrested for it. He ends up going on Jay Leno, and he basically just apologizes. He basically just comes clean and he apologizes. For a long time, people were like, see, that's the way you sort of like operate. There's kind of been this shift in the last few years where it's like, deny till you die, never admit guilt. This is kind of the Trump thing. It's like, if you never admit you're wrong, it's like, who will hold you accountable?
Yep.
And so far, he hasn't been held accountable. So people are going to look at that playbook, and they're just going to be like, why wouldn't I double down? No,
Yeah.
like, who's
No, I
holding
know.
you accountable?
Well, look at Al Franken. Like,
Yeah.
Franken was accused of
Groping.
Groping.
Yeah.
Compared to like a lot of the Trump offenses, very minor. And
Because he
Franken-
was kind of air groping,
who
mock
was?
groping. He was like doing the I'm grabbing your boobies.
That was
thing.
one of them. So on a
Oh,
USO
did he do
tour,
a real grope?
There's people that accused him of at like state fairs when he was doing like political tours. When he did photos, he would get a handful.
Anyway, I just know there are people on
that's
the
why he
left
resigned.
that go, you know what? Franken probably did some stupid things that are totally inappropriate, but he was also an awesome legislator and should not have resigned because they actually needed him in the Senate, and he was actually really effective of doing his job. And actually, in the grand scale of things, he'd actually help so many people by being as good as he is as a senator. And when you compare his actions versus what Trump did, he should have just kind of doubled down and denied till he died, or just said, "Hey, sorry, but I'm not quitting." He basically just stepped down pretty quickly, and it's an interesting.
What do you think of the way like Letterman handled his situation when he was kind of cheating on his wife and was getting blackmailed, and then he went on TV?
Well, he kind of did a Hugh Grant sort of thing,
Yeah,
right?
he was. I thought he handled it smartly. You know, he said, "Listen, like."
But would that fly nowadays?
Yeah,
or
I mean,
are we
these
past
were
that
all
point?
pre-Twitter things. I always think about that when it comes. And by the way, celebrities are different than politicians. I think they're held to a
Well,
different
also,
standard.
there's two other things here. So what you're talking about
Yeah.
is like, well, if the guy's good at his job, then let's forgive his transgressions.
I'm not saying let's forgive transgressions. I'm just saying there are people on the left that go, "I wish you hadn't quit."
And you're saying there's levels
because
of
given the
severity,
paradigm
too.
right now, we like what you did was not as bad as what Trump has done, and let's keep it rolling.
Well, here's the problem, though, is it's like what Franken did is he's trying to hold himself to a standard he hopes everybody holds himself to.
Yeah.
So he sacrifices himself
Yeah.
because he goes, listen, this is how it should operate.
Yeah.
I have offended people. I've done something wrong or people think I did something wrong. So I am going to step down because I can't effectively lead if people feel this way about me or they think that I've done these things. The problem is on the other side, nobody uses that playbook. So they all laugh every time someone on the left like sort of valiantly
you make
sacrifices
this point all
themselves.
the time, yeah.
So I just don't know what the fucking playbook is. And what it looks like is the left with Joe Biden is starting to go, actually, I'm just going to stay.
Yeah.
Because no one else is, like, no one on the right is leaving. And if I can win the presidency, I'm sticking around. Everyone is like, Joe kind of creeps me out. Like, you know, he's problematic, but he's not going to back out.
But he was just giving like Drake level massages.
But
Right?
the point.
Oh,
remains,
wasn't he?
though-
Was he not?
I mean, it's the same point though. It's basically it's like don't acquiesce when the first moment somebody criticizes you. If you're a liberal, just go no, fuck you. Let's keep
Right.
rolling.
Yeah.
So maybe liberals, I think, need to get funnier.
Yeah, so-
Well, I find that they don't have as good of clapbacks, or like they need to get pettier.
Well,
Because I-
entertainment is what you're talking about.
Exactly. Well, usually comedy is a big source of entertainment, and that's what like Trump's main thing is. He's kind of got good comedic timing and good roasts. So it's like a liberal will debate a fact with a fact, whereas a more conservative person will be like, "Shut up, you suck." And by the way, nice love handles.
Yeah, and what that has done is exposed kind of a bit of like a deficiency or an ugliness in us as a people, because we like to think that we're ascending, that we're like, well, no, let's have like nuanced debate, but ultimately it's like, that guy's talking like me and my friends, like, and it's like, I'm voting for that guy, like I like that guy, and maybe it's always been that way, and we know it's always been that way, but it felt like, I don't know, there was all these sort of like ideals, and the future was built on like sort of the optimism of John F. Kennedy, and sort of like, do not what your country, not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, and this idea of like sacrifice and sort of like
reaching across the aisle and finding common ground.
And I think politics can be kind of confusing, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, but I can understand a little roast or a joke much easier than I can like complicated political issues.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, and that's why people are kind of like, I like that guy, just merely because they can understand it.
People get angry. Politics is cyclical. Like there's times where there's liberals in office and they have big money scandals, and then people like, especially like in Ontario, and then people are like, what the fuck? Like get those bums out. Like, I'm taking a haircut on my paycheck with these taxes, and then I find out they're wasting, $1.2 million on some weird thing, or like $500 million on this. And so it's like, they're like, well, get them out and give me the guy that's going to be a buck of beer.
Well, to your point, Shane, we've talked about this on previous pods. So you're saying that conservatives are just like funnier about it. And
yeah.
So she instead of responding with an apology, she just posted a picture of the bus stop and says, "Not watching your fucking show anymore."
Yeah.
Like I think the counter on the progressive side is the more social justice warrior angle, which is like, you need to read this study and you need to see what this other marginalized group is going through, and you're that's on you. And check your privilege, and that's just not fun.
No,
that's not funny at all.
And it's very time consuming, and like,
yeah. So yeah,
and that's what was good about Obama. He was kind of funny. Like there was that one thing where he did like a comedic routine for like an hour once. I saw.
Oh,
he was very good.
I think you're totally right. That is what makes Obama an incredible politician. Is that he knows how to appeal to people's sensibilities, and I think progress happens when you appeal to people's personal sensibilities, and it doesn't necessarily happen when you attack someone's character or you make someone feel guilty, right? Which I think sometimes liberals have been accused of doing.
Yeah. So you want to see whose arms are longer?
All right, let's get to the interview.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's set it up, man. Today on the show we have Bill Hader.
We have not talked. I didn't do a recap with you, so
you're just gonna hear the interview.
Do you feel good about it?
Yeah, I thought it went well. I mean, it was a phone call. He was in Banff accepting a comedy award, and so we did it on the phone. He called in from Banff, and
you got a cell phone number?
No, it was like the publicist or whatever the call-in number was.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I just got it on my phone as Billy.
Yeah.
So, and we've done phoners before for Jason Reitman, and it's always different because you're not in the room. You're not looking across. When you're looking at someone, you're picking up on visual cues. You're getting your vibe. When it's on the phone, you really sort of it's a different sort of animal. But I ultimately was happy with it, and I was saying this to Shane afterward. Like, it was so weird doing it because there were times, because I had the headphones in, I'm doing this thing on the call, I'm recording it, and there's times where he's giving an answer, and at some point, like halfway through an answer, I actually just kind of zoned out because I thought I was listening to a podcast with Bill Hader. Because I've listened to him on so many podcasts that literally, like, him on the phone coming through my headphones, I almost was like, oh shit, I've got to ask another question, because he ultimately is like, oh, this is just what I normally do when I've listened to him on Marin, or what I mean, any of these other podcasts that he goes
on Conan. That's a great episode on Conan.
Yeah. And he's a thoughtful guy. Like, he's like, I don't know, man, he's pretty chill, self-aware. And just, it was a good conversation, and exactly what you'd think. And in some ways it was kind of a challenge because Shane and I were talking before, and it's like, I've heard everything from him. Yeah. So like, what angle do we take? Like, he's done a million podcasts. He's been very, very like sort of open about certain stuff. So yeah, we ended up talking like a lot about process and things of that nature. And he kind of was cool. He just kind of naturally went into like SNL stories and sort of how he broke down the work and how it made him feel, and compared to his show Barry. And yeah, it was. I thought it was cool, man.
Are people going to learn anything that they haven't heard already?
I think you learn how he feels about how he views the idea of ambition and creative, and how those can be juxtaposed. Because sometimes to make something truly unique or creative, it might not be like something that is massively appealing on first blush. It almost has to become that way. And he talked, a bit about how he views that paradigm and how he operates within it as a creative person. So I think that's interesting. I haven't heard him talk about that necessarily before. So
Cool.
yeah, you watch Barry?
Yeah, I haven't got to the second season yet.
Yeah, both seasons available only on Crave here in Canada, so check it out. And after you watch Barry, watch Micah Much in conversation with Sting, Shaggy, you guys know the deal, Leon Bridges, Noel Gallagher,
Jared Kiso.
Shane does amazing digital desserts with everybody from
Brent Butt.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen.
Let's
Jason
get to this
Mraz.
interview.
Okay, geez, you're the one that want to talk politics for 20 fucking minutes. You guys want to get to Bill Hader?
Let's do it.
That was a good roast.
Hello?
Hi, I have Bill Hader for you.
Great.
How's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good.
We have a small connection. Last summer, while you were shooting It, I think me and you lived in the same building in downtown Toronto.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so my wife and I would always see you walking around.
Well, yeah, a bunch of the cast was in that building.
Yeah, I feel like like in the mornings there'd be all the black cars ready to pick everybody up.
Yeah, to take us all to set, yeah. And then every Saturday night, the director would take us to A&W because we would always wrap at like 4 in the morning, and A&W was the only thing open.
That's hilarious. I've spent a lot of time at that A&W at 2 in the morning on my walk home. And you were going to Hamilton, I feel like, as well. Were you shot a lot there?
Yeah, we shot in Hamilton for I think a week. Yeah.
Yeah, I was born and raised there, so I feel like this is
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
That's
like the
cool.
story of my life, all of your shooting that summer. So I also wanted to start a little bit with, because right now in Toronto, the Raptors are on a big run, and I know that you went to a lot of those 2012 Oklahoma City Thunder games when they were doing their big run. Obviously, they didn't win. I'm wondering if the Raps don't pull this off in 2 games, if you have any advice for a Toronto Raptors fan.
Oh, I think Kawhi Leonard should just, go to the Clippers. I think that's the best way to handle it. I think Kawhi Leonard should just take a deep breath and just say, I think the best thing for me and for everyone right now is if I just go to the Clippers.
You're certainly not pandering to the Toronto crowd right now, which is
I
respect
no.
that.
I want him. He's from LA. I think he just wants to go back home. So.
And that's fine. I can respect that. It's cool. All right, on to some real questions. You've been a part of a lot of hit movies like Trainwreck. You've done, obviously, Barry's been amazing for you, and then some more niche things like Documentary Now. My question is, as an actor, do you have like a sense of the audience you'll attract before you even start making something, or do you find like the commercial success of a particular project to be somewhat unpredictable?
It's a bit of both. It's like you have to be it's a bit of instinct, of what something will work or not work. And is it something you would want to go watch, Now, not everything I've done is something I want to go watch. Sometimes you do have to go do things because, you got bills to pay or whatever it is, then, it's a job. But once in a while, like an It 2 will come along where you go, oh, wow, this is a big movie, but this is actually something I would go see, too, because I like the first one. But I don't know. It's like, it's a bit instinctual, and then when it works, it's a bit of a surprise, and then when it doesn't work, it's a surprise. It's always, I learned it at Saturday Night Live. Anytime we would kind of go, wow, this thing's going to work, it would be fine, or it didn't work.
Interesting.
But the minute we would say, well, this thing, Stefan didn't work as a sketch, so I guess let's put it on Update and see if we can salvage it that way. And then that was the thing I'm the most known for from the show, It's like, that was like a fluke that thing worked. You know what I mean? So you have to just kind of not be afraid to fail, but you also want to take. For me, it's a combination of being instinctual, working on instinct, and being slightly calculated.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned instincts, and I guess ultimately they've served you very well. But have there been times where your instincts have been completely off?
Oh yeah, all the time. Saturday Night Live, it happened weekly. Where I would think something was really funny and then write it, and then just went, oh, well, that didn't go well. Or you would have a thing that you thought was a blast and a lot of fun making it, and then, because of the company that put it out or the moment in time when it came out, people just weren't interested in that story, and you were like, oh, that's too bad. I think that's a good movie,
Yeah.
And then things kind of come around. I remember I did a movie, Hot Rod, and when that came out, people it got terrible reviews and no one went and saw it, and just was, by all accounts, a massive failure. And now I have people, 10, 12 years later coming up to me saying, my favorite movie is Hot Rod. It's like you never know. You just never know.
So, I mean, this is always a fascinating thing for me with creatives as well. Is it's like, I think in a lot of ways you have to sort of be sensitive or attuned to sort of make, I think, interesting things that relate to that people relate to. But then also, I think that that's the same thing that maybe makes it very hard to not see success with stuff. Are you someone that's sort of naturally been able to sort of brush things off and move on to the next thing, or do you sort of wallow in it a bit and go, how can I make this?
No.
Correct this?
Yeah, no, that's the best thing SNL taught was how to deal with failure and to just kind of go, man. There's a brief minute of being disappointed, and then you move on.
Yeah.
And never in terms of it's like your own personal thing. You just go, man, I wish that would have worked. And then I guess it didn't. And then, meaning, some people get mad, the thing didn't make as much money as we wanted it to, or should have won. We got nominated for awards, but we didn't win any, or things like that. Those things all make sense, but for me, it's just my own personal kind of thing. You just hope that people would watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen, or it's like, did you see it? Yeah, I saw it. It was okay. You go, all right.
Yeah.
But everything's different,
Well, I mean, speaking of things being different, I mean, like with Barry, which you're so obviously heavily involved with the way that show is made, how does that compare basically to sort of the more, SNL can be hands-on, obviously, but then Barry, you're sort of like one of the creators, you are the star of the show, you're making creative decisions. How does that compare as far as like stress and maybe the way that you approach the work?
I mean, I found SNL to be more stressful because it was a live show and we had just a couple of days to figure it out, and then we were going live on air, and it was a bit terrifying. Whereas Barry, we can sit and work on it for months. Barry, all told, season 2 is I worked on it continuously for 13 months.
Wow.
And during that time, you're constantly refining things, rewriting things, reshooting things in some cases, and editing things 5 different ways and things like that. So, but it's all fun. It's all kind of a lot of fun problem solving, but it does leave you a bit. I would say SNL is more stressful. But Barry it's a difference between running a marathon and a sprint.
Yeah.
So you just have to pace yourself when you're doing Barry, because by the end of it, you're just like, well, it always is funny. Like the minute we stopped shooting Barry, we wrapped on a Friday, and Sunday, for the first time in my life, my lower back went out.
Oh, no.
It was like my body just decided to just go, all right, good, we can let go now.
Yeah.
Just like, So that'll happen,
You seem like somebody that is drawn towards sort of collaborative creative. Do you know what I mean? Like consensus, writing with people. When you work with, say, like directors or other creatives that have more of a singular vision, do you find that you are able to sort of toggle between both, or are you kind of like, I don't really want to do it unless I can have a say in maybe how my character goes, or I can punch this up here?
Well, it depends on what it is. On It Too, my character has to be funny, and the only way I kind of know how to be funny, unless, I don't know, the best, like some amazing comedy writers writing it, which is, I don't know what it is, but I have to be able to be funny the way that I know how to be funny. But I was lucky that Andy Muschietti, the director of that movie, wanted that too. So he would say, look, I wrote this, but you don't have to do it. We can kind of, here's what I need in the scene. I need you to say these 3 things because it's super important for the story. And I would go to him and say, hey, is it okay if I try this or try that? And, but it's all it's kind of a case by case basis. I would see people come into SNL like that, where they had directed a big movie or they own a big company, and they would talk to us like we were employees.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah.
And they could be very nice people, but we were definitely working for them, not with them.
Right.
And then you would see someone like a Tom Hanks or somebody who's directed movies, runs Playtone, done all these things, and he was like another cast member. Just came in and was like, oh, where do you want me?
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake, same thing, just walked in, where do you want me? So that was a good lesson for me to see, like, okay, just because you're the head of this thing, it's just in this world of Barry. But when you're on another thing, it's their movie, and they're going to have to go through all the process of writing and editing and all these other headaches that I have to go through on Barry,
Yeah.
And so on other projects, I tend to, I did this movie Noelle with Anna Kendrick, which is like a Christmas movie for Disney.
Right.
And that director had a very specific way he wanted things read and written, and so you honor that. I had that conversation. Let me kind of improvise stuff, and he was, I'd rather you stick to the script. And Mark Lawrence, his name, he wrote like Miss Congeniality and things
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And so on that one, pretty much the whole movie just stuck to the script, because he had it very specific in his mind, and in how he wanted it read. And then, like I said, Andy Muschietti would just say, try this, as long as you say, yeah, we got to go here.
Right.
I don't care how you say it,
From the writing standpoint, like when you are sort of talking over ideas or you're being collaborative, are you a sort of guy that like gets on a phone call and let's do it that way? Or will you do like text threads, or are you like, let's get in a room. We have to be in a room for it to have the most juice?
With an actor?
As a writer.
Oh, we have to be in a room, I think. I mean, it's a bit of everything, but you want to be in the room with everybody, and you want to be kind of bouncing ideas off each other, and a good day in the room is when you feel like you've moved you've just moved things a little bit. I never expect like massive swings or massive things being done. You know what I mean? It's like we'll sit and write for 4 or 5 hours, and I don't take lunch breaks. The lunches come in while we work, because you just kind of want to get it done in one big kind of burst of energy and concentration. And we'll walk away with it with, one day we'll figure out the character of Esther.
Right.
Who is that? And it's 4 hours of just plotting where she goes and what is she doing and what does she mean to the, it's like a love triangle, and so we're just talking about that storyline for the day.
Yep.
We don't talk about Barry. We don't talk about anybody else. And that's a good day, But so it's just it's like mountain climbing. If you look at the top of the mountain, you'll go crazy.
Right.
You just have to look at what's in front of you.
I ask a lot of musicians this and other creatives, and there's something interesting about like the muse or like, oh, I'll write because I'm inspired, or I'll do this because I'm feeling creative. But then there's also something to be said for like a workmanlike approach, which kind of sounds like what you're describing. And I guess my question would be, are you someone that's able to create even if you're not inspired? You're like, well, I have to go and do it.
You have to, and you can get. I kind of don't really buy into that, to be honest. I mean, I think it could come into at various times, Sometimes I feel like, maybe it is important for people, but I sometimes feel like that's just, maybe being lazy or just not wanting to do anything that day and not feeling like it and whatever. But I feel like even if you spend 4 hours and you write shit,
yeah,
you've moved things forward a little bit. You know, you kind of know, well, this isn't working.
Yeah, there's value in that.
There's value in that of going, well, you know, like we were saying, you know, in the pilot of Barry, we had a whole hitman community, and there was a barbecue scene where all the hitmen were having a barbecue and their kids were running around, and Barry was hanging out with them. And it always felt weird and wrong, but we had no other ideas, so we went down this path. And HBO was the one that was like, this feels weird. And we were like, yeah, no, you're not wrong. And then that shit that we wrote for months and went down this whole road on this thing that we instinctively knew was wrong, but we couldn't figure out what else to do. Just by them saying it's not real, you know, the hitman world needs to feel as real as the acting world.
Right.
I then went, what if he was a Marine? And it's like, oh, yeah. And Alec went, oh, that's a world I understand. He's a vet.
Right.
So let's take it out of hitman. Let's take it out of, I remember Alec saying, we're writing genre right now. We're writing, our research is based on movies and not reality.
Right.
So let's go and, we watched, Restrepo and Korangal and really tried to understand the mindset of those guys, and then and interview some guys, and then go, oh, this is much more richer and interesting because it's in reality.
Yeah. This is a question, sort of a process question on the performance side, but like when you're working on an impression, do you know immediately if you'll be able to pull it off?
I'm a pretty quick study on it. I can either do it or I can't do it.
And so, you'll abandon it if it's not working.
Yeah, and it's ones that are really easy for certain people. Like I can't do Christopher Walken.
Right.
But then there's ones like I had to do the guy from There Will Be Blood, and it was wrong for a couple of days, and then suddenly it kind of just clicked.
Yeah.
One like on Thursday, like I was given it on Tuesday, and they wrote it in on a Tuesday, and Seth Meyers wrote it. He goes, hey, you're going to do There Will Be Blood guy, so I guess you should go figure that out. And I did it at the table read on Wednesday, and it didn't sound right to me. And then on Thursday, I watched it again and tried it again. It sounded a little bit better. Friday, a little bit better. Saturday was, I had no choice. It was that was what it was going to be. Wherever it was at on Saturday, that's what it was going to be. So, you just, like you're saying, you just have to keep, just keep your eye on it and keep trying to make it better.
Yeah, there's a pretty popular video right now of you meeting Keith Morrison, obviously the Dateline dude, and you seemed very, very excited. I'm kind of always interested in, like, when you do an imitation of somebody, are you ever concerned when you meet them that they're either going to be flattered or offended, or do you just sort of...
Oh, yeah, I'm always like, I haven't watched that video, but I feel like I said, I hope you aren't offended by the impression. I think I asked him that. But
is that like an inherent sort of thought you have whenever you're like, oh shit, there's
I think people, I've offended people before, and I never liked that, and
like they genuinely, like, has someone ever said anything to you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna name names.
I'm not asking you to name.
yeah, but I've had someone come up to me at a party and say, hey, I didn't like that, on the show, and I just, oh man, I'm sorry, man. We were just, I just let them say their piece and say, well, I'm sorry you feel that way,
Yeah. Lastly, I think you've been someone who's been obviously incredibly successful, and I'm always interested when people are creatives and are successful. There's this sort of like juxtaposition between, like, you do something because it's fun, whether it's you pick up a camcorder when you're a kid or you write a song, but then there comes a point where it's like, oh, I want to succeed. So there has to be a certain level of ambition, but sometimes that can be at odds with creating something fun and good. Are you somebody who falls more in the spectrum of, I just want to create something, and if people like it, great, or are you like, I need this to succeed and I want to, be success at the highest level?
It's hard. You want to go with your instinct, and doing a show about a hitman who wants to be an actor doesn't scream like massive numbers.
Right.
So it's kind of niche already, But those are always the kind of stories and things I liked. I always kind of enjoyed people who just had their little corner of the, playground that they played on, and I had no interest in owning the entire playground,
Yeah.
So it is a bit of both. Like, you want people to like it. I think if we had done Barry and people went, "What the fuck is this?" I would have been, like we were talking about earlier, I would have been bummed for a couple of days and then went, "All right, let's move on," But I'm learning that if you could just tell a story that that's about people and about something that's very relatable, that people will lean into it. I think my problem with especially a lot of movies right now is that especially the bigger movies, I don't find them that relatable. It's just kind of they're kind of confusing.
Yeah, it's like spectacle for spectacle's sake.
Yeah, spectacle, big high concept things. I'm like, wait, what? Who's that guy? But I do think that it's good to be. So it's a bit, it's a bit of both. It's like, what's the Venn diagram? Like, what's the sweet spot where I can do my own thing and no one gets hurt financially, and then if that thing is accepted, then that's good for everybody.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for your time and congrats on all the success with
thanks,
Barry.
buddy.
That's it. That's all. That is our episode. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Bill Hader for calling in and having that conversation.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody who's following the pod. It's been really cool to see, honestly, when I'm in the streets, be like, listen to the pod. Like, I feel like it's growing, and we truly love doing it. So thanks for being with us.
Thanks for listening. See you next week. If we don't die on the weekend, go Raptors.
Mike on Much can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Mike on Much. You can subscribe to the show on any platform that has podcasts. Spotify, do it.